Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back at it again to have a discussion over here about some of the wonderful things that I feel like are not actually being talked about enough when it comes to Wuthering Waves, and of course, when it comes to version 3.5. Zhuangfang, the land of Mengzhou, or like the opposite or some shit. I don't know. But one thing that we're going to be encountering on our journey over to that new region is, of course, a new version of Rover. And what I wanted to do was actually take the time to break down and actually discuss how wild this kit is, how wild the descriptions are for what he's going to do, and of course, explain how this is still, to this day, the best gacha in gacha, or the best gacha MC in gacha gaming, the best like free-to-play, like free-owned unit we probably ever had, and of course, just talk a little bit about what a delight Kuro's actually providing for us for free in the next patch. We've got the live stream over here. It's going to be muted because they're all talking in Chinese, and that's distracting because we're American and speaking English. You get what I mean. So anyways, Rover Electro, whole new attribute, probably should tell you a little bit about what to expect in Mengzhou as a whole. The attribute that Rover receives is technically related to the Sentinel, right, of the region. For example, we got Havoc, but then we started with Spectro, and then we have Jue, who's like all Spectro, right? Makes sense over there, and then Dreamless, she's Havoc, blah, 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 sort of makes sense. Then we got Arrow from Cardathea. And so a lot of people are under the impression Electro is for Sin. Then you got the robots, all of that shit, blah, 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 so on and so forth. They're powered by electricity like the little dudes, right? So that makes sense as well. However, this version of Rover feels like it's coming out with almost no involvement in the story. And we got no version of Rover in Lahai Roy, which I feel like was a letdown for a lot of people who thought that we were going to be getting Fusion, knowing that Imith, right, was a Fusion character, and she was like kind of the Sentinel, the Exostrider's character. So the end result is like, oh, we've been subverted, but we're getting our next one really quick. But I think the realization over here for a lot of people is that the patience, the waiting, all of that was actually worth it because of what this guy has in their kit. So let's keep looking over here, see what we got going on. So yep, they unlock a brand new attribute as the new main quest reaches a key point. They're going to gain the power of Electro. And Electro, guys, getting an Electro unit, it can't come soon enough. And the reason for that is very simple. Electro is, I think, easily considered one of the worst attributes that we have in the game. Possibly, if not, the actual worst one. The only tailored Electro sub-DPS we have, guys, is Yinlin. There is actually no other buffer of Electro damage in the game. Nobody's outro skill buffs just Electro other than hers. And then hers is Electro and Liberation, right? So it's not even like full Electro, blah, blah, blah. It's one of the most underdeveloped ones we've ever seen. And so for Sin to be an Electro Sentinel, right? All of that, they need to do a lot of fucking work to fix up the element before she gets here. And so I do imagine Rover is going to be doing a lot of that fixing. So their fourth unlockable attribute, and it's also going to unlock, and this is really, really, really important here, and I guess we get it as a result of saving Yang Yang, an entirely new combat style and gameplay experience. Mainly that being, yes, you have a crossbow, motherfucker. Yes, you can slam the ground with that crossbow, and then obviously use it to fire off shots too. That's a pretty sick weapon, and especially when Rover was using a sword the whole time, I think a lot of people thought Rover was going to be stuck as a sword user. But no, you got this. Electro Flare effect. And this is where you can probably start putting a lot of the pieces together. Electro Rover is probably going to heavily support the Electro Flare archetype, possibly as a sub-DPS. And the great news about this is that Electro Flare already has at least one character that's very, very, very affordable that actually does something in the archetype. And that's going to be Bu Ling, who for some reason has the ability to apply a fuck ton of Electro Flare throughout her kit. Like, a lot. She actually applies a significant amount of it. To the point where, if you ever do need, like, an Electro Flare-like support, who is, again, enabling the comp, she sounds like she's going to be doing a decent job of it. And again, as a 4-star unit, which is, like, almost unheard of for a lot of people. And a lot of people would hope as well, right? Oh, hopefully Sin is also going to be dealing some, resonance skill damage. Yeah, probably some people hoping that Sin is a Electro resonance skill damage dealer that also does some Electro Flare scaling too. Because, yeah, you can see her later sequence nodes are really, really, really strong. Really, really, really strong. Blah, 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 all of that. So that's what exists in the game already for a lot of people. Maybe not an S6 Buling, but at least probably one copy of her. And she still applies a decent amount off rip. But then you're also getting the free free Electro Rover, who's going to do the same thing. So you already got 2 Electro Flare characters in 3.5. So yeah, they apply it, and with their mechanical wristband, and you can just see their attacks. I just want to talk about this. Bro, this has to be one of the most dynamic kits we've seen from the MC. It looks a lot better than Electro Rover. It actually looks like it won't be a complete pain in the ass to play. I just want to take a look at some of the animations again. Here we go. So yeah, they do like a difference between like slams. They have a block as well, a parry and a counter, which I guess is going to be good for a lot of hologram fights and stuff like that. Then they switch over and actually start doing their Havoc mode attacks and all of that. And they also have stagnation too, right? Much like their Spectro forms. The idea over here is that this version of Rover, for some reason, like has all of their other attacks too. And even the Augusta uppercut. Yeah, I guess we learned that from Augusta. Yep. So that's just like some of like their moveset, and you're clearly just seeing over here, this is how they're applying some of their stuff. That isn't really that important. That's just some of their animations. This is the key focus over here for Electro Rover that I want you guys to focus on. And it's one of the big reasons for why I think that this is one of the greatest additions they've ever made to the MC. When their forte is full, press to release an enhanced resonance skill. Allows Rover to dash through the battlefield while pulling nearby enemies together. Switching to nearby teammates in this state grants them an attack bonus. So they're a sub DPS. You have the free sub DPS. And to describe the impact of the free sub DPS character, right? He's basically like, or she's basically like, depending on your gender, right? A free Phoebe for Azani. A free Chacona for Cardathea. Or, most relevantly, right? A free Denya for an Imith, or a free Lucilla for a Hiyuki. That's essentially the role that Rover has right now. With that attack buff there. However, there's more. Alternatively, Rover can consume their forte gauge by holding the resonance skill and release a surge of lightning energy and enter an overload state. And then they get a special moveset. So this is kind of the point. Rover has a sub DPS and a DPS mode, where they naturally can consume their own charges to buff their own moveset and do this extended rotation on field, where they're likely going to consume Electro Flare stacks, while their other form that buffs teammates will build them up. The end result, guys, is that we're getting a new free unit, right? The new free Rover, but it looks like they're going to be usable in a bunch of teams. Because this is what I think is going to occur. You're going to have like the free-to-play Electro Flare team, right? Where it's going to be Booling, and then Electro Rover, and then maybe like Sin as the DPS, right? And then Electro Rover is supporting Sin. But guess what? They probably going to have a premium version of Electro Rover, right? That's going to come out. An actual like official 5-star that applies Electro Flare and like buffs damage better than he does. But then Electro Rover can become the DPS, and then that character that buffs Flare can become their sub DPS, which I think is what this form is for. When that upgrade comes out, you can still use Rover. But the best in slot team is probably going to be like Booling or Chisa, then the new Electro Flare character that's better than Rover, and then Sin. But this team is still always going to be there once you get that upgrade, so you can always play Rover. And I think that's fine. I think that's very good. I think it's a great idea. I think it shows a lot of intelligence from Kuro, because it gives you almost more incentives to pull the Rover upgrade. The one that does the sub DPS job better, because then you get essentially 2 teams with it. A new Rover team and maybe a new Sin team. And that would be pretty cool, right? It's like 2 teams for the price of 1. You pull this one unit and now you can play 2 new teams. It's a player-friendly way to have the new teams as well, because Rover's free. So yeah. They're then gonna combine the powers of Spectro, Havoc, and Arrow into this extended chain attack sequence. You see what's going on over here. And to me, this is awesome, right? This is wonderful. This is insane that you get to have that optionality for how you want to do the character's rotation. And it's something that obviously didn't need to happen, right? At this point, they're already valuable just being a free version of Chakota for Electro Flare. But then they just do more on top of that. So, with this one over here, they do a big ol' Ezreal ult and then just, like, nuke the enemy. Sorry, I need to get her fucking bells and shit out of here, bro. I just been hearing them ringing in the background. Yeah, we get a big ol' ult over here. That looks like it does a lot of damage. Looks like a solid sub DPS ult. I wonder how much that's gonna hit when they're a main DPS. Yeah, I don't know. That looks like it could deal upwards of like maybe 300, 400, 500k damage. But it's clear that Rover has kind of had a big diminishing in the roles that they've been playable in since, I would say, Chisa's release. It's like, yeah, you had the whole Electro Rover situation, but they're 100% like the worst feeling unit in the game, so nobody really wants to play them. Havoc also feels really clunky and bad. This has the worst attack range I've ever seen. And Spectro, you only use it in quick swap, and if you don't quick swap with Spectro Rover, it's kind of just fucking useless. I'm hoping that this is the most popular version of Rover ever, just from the perspective of this. The kit doesn't feel like shit to use, like Electro Rovers does. The kit actually has, like, range and hitboxes, unlike Spectro or Havoc, and that's, like, it. Bro, I just want this unit to feel good, and I feel like it'll feel decent because the AoE doesn't look shit here. Play Havoc Rover for 10 minutes, and you'll just be like, dude, I gotta be, like, humping the enemy to land my attacks. Like, it's really not good. Like, you'll just miss their basic attack chain accidentally. Like, bro, trying to hit Havoc Rover's B5 is like fucking, bro, you gotta be a surgeon in the TOA to hit that shit. I'm good, man. I just hope this unit's not like that. That's the level of hype that I have for Rover. And the level of hype that I have, it truly needs to be sourced from, right? Whether or not you've done your research on Bu Ling, whether or not you know about Sin and all of, like, the relationship, right, between Rover's attributes and the Sentinel. And once you do, I feel like you can clearly see, oh, good golly gee, these guys are giving out a lot. And I'm just hoping this character is good. I'm just hoping this character is useful. But you can think about it this way. If Kuro fucks this up, less people pull Sin. And I bet you they're trying to make millions of dollar dues on her, if not billions. So I bet they're going to make this dude strong, knowing that they're going to work with Sin, and then from there, make it so that people are, obviously, right, going to be influenced to pull. This is one of those cases. I hope they're a little bit broken, because they're a free character. Can't really hurt that much. Let me know what you all thought. Peace out.